Hello and welcome to Susu's Kindergarten Videos. Today we are going to talk about planting bulbs and how to plant bulbs. In our previous video we talked about what a bulb was, and this is a storage unit and it has all the food and energy that this plant is going to need in the springtime to grow and produce a daffodil. And that's what this bulb is. This is Pacific Rim is the cultivar. And I want to dig the hole, and this bulb is probably about 2 inches tall. And the rule of thumb is to plant the bulb 3 times the height of the bulb. So this is 2 inches tall, and I'm going to plant it about 6 inches deep. So it's firmed up and down in the soil, and then I'm just going to sprinkle the soil on top of the bulb. And bulbs really want to be planted in an area where the soil is draining really well. They do not like to have wet feet. They want to have a little bit of drainage there, because if they sit in water, they are not going to do well. They're going to rot. So you really want to make sure that where you're putting them is an appropriate spot. Now this soil is a little bit wet, but we've recently had quite a bit of rain, and this is an area that does have a little more moisture than I would like. But I do have other bulbs here, so I think it's going to be okay. So once you cover the bulb, you want to firm the soil down with your hand. And I like to leave my tag or my label near the spot so that I know that, first of all, there's a bulb here, and second of all, later on, I may wonder what cultivar this was, because I may like it so much I may want to get more. And I will also write down where I planted these and what cultivars are in what spots. And that way it helps you remember what you've done in your garden. I always like to keep a record of where things are and what I've planted. And you can see I've dug several other holes for the other bulbs, and these are all the same kind. They're all Pacific Rim, and there's one over here that's in the middle of some mondo grass. You can see it down there, and I just kind of spread them out. And this is near my house, and it's also near the sidewalk. So when these come up in the spring, I'll really be able to appreciate them when I walk inside. So let's move on to another part of the garden so I can show you where I planted some of the other bulbs that we got. Here we are in another part of the garden, and this is in an area near the front porch. And these are small bulbs. These are the Fritillaria, or guinea hens, if you remember. And these are small and they don't get very big. So I want to plant them somewhere where I can appreciate them. So they're close to the porch and they're at the edge of the garden. And I've put 2 bulbs in this hole, and these are only about 1 inch big, so I'm only going to plant them about 3 inches deep. Remember our rule, 3 times the height of the bulb. And we're just going to crumble the soil. Now this is really good soil. It's very interesting as I've been digging these holes around the yard to see how different the soil is from one place to the next. But this has a lot of organic material in it, so it should do really well here. And this is also a full sun area. You really want to plant most of your bulbs in full sun because that's what they require. There's some bulbs, I imagine, take some shade, but these are going to take some full sun. So that was Fritillaria. And I've also planted or dug some other holes in this area. You can see here where I've put a couple more bulbs of the Fritillaria. And I've kind of, grouped light bulbs together. You don't have to, but I like to I think it makes more of an impression when all the same kind are in the same place. That way they all come up together and you can really appreciate them. So let's go to another part of the garden to see some other bulbs. Here we are next to my Japanese maple, and I thought it would be pretty to have some of the daffodils that I purchased planted underneath this tree. And it's also next to the driveway, so we'll be coming in and out this way, and when these come up in the springtime, I think they'll be real attractive, and they'll be in a spot where we can appreciate them. Now these are very small. This is the daffodil more and more, so they're going to have lots of flowers, and I planted 3 bulbs in every hole. And these are very tiny, so I'm only going to plant them 3 inches deep. And then I'm going to cover them with soil. And this is very good soil. And I didn't plant some of the larger daffodils here because this is under a tree that's been here for some time. And I didn't really want to disturb the roots of the tree. So this is pretty shallow, so I don't think I hurt anything. And these are small bulbs. So you can see here where I dug another hole. And remember, the bottom is where the basil plate is. And this is the tip here on the top. And so you want to firm them good in the soil so they're standing straight up. And then you can cover them. And I don't know what it is about squirrels and raccoons, but I think they're in the trees right now watching me plant these bulbs. And sometime tonight, it seems like every time I plant anything, they want to dig it up to see if it's something that they can eat. And so in order to keep them from doing that, once I've planted my bulbs, I will lay some screen on top of the holes. And this kind of deters the squirrels and the raccoons from digging them up. And so I'll fill in all the holes, and you can see I've got them right around the tree here. And next spring they'll be coming up, and I'll share the pictures with you. Let's go to another area of the garden. Here we are in the back of the perennial garden, and this is a good distance from the house, but it is a place where I think when the bulbs come up, I'll be able to view them coming up the driveway. So, plus there's not much planted over here, and I thought this would be a good place. And you can see these are some of the larger daffodil bulbs, and they're going to get about 16 inches tall So I think if I plant them further away from anything, I'll still be able to appreciate them because they do get fairly large. And because these are large, I had to dig a deeper hole. So these are about 8 inches deep because the bulbs are about 3 inches tall. So I want to get them down in there and firm them in. And what I love about Becky and Brent's bulbs is their bulbs are so healthy and firm and large. And these daffodils are just beautiful. So they should do really well in the spring. And they will, once we get some moisture, they'll start putting out a few roots. But it won't be until springtime, when the temperatures warm up, that they'll start pushing up the bud and the flower and the leaves so that we can enjoy them. So again, you want to just firm those down, the soil. And then I've got some screen here that I will cover the hole with so the squirrels don't get in there. And then you can see I've planted some other daffodils. And this is a Barrett Browning cultivar. And I'll fill in these holes as well and then cover the whole thing with screen. But you don't get much payoff right now because they're just going to stay dormant in their holes throughout the winter. But in the spring, all this hard work will pay off and we'll have a big flush of color come into the garden, which is really wonderful. It just makes you feel so good to have flowers blooming in your garden. So there's how it is with planting bulbs. You want to make sure they've got full sun. You want to plant them deep enough into the ground, and you want them to have good drainage so they don't rot. And if you follow all those instructions, you should be successful at planting spring bulbs. Happy fall. Over and out from Susu's Garden. Love you.